coming into one village, and some of the people looked terrified. One of them was saying, "Oh, the guerrillas are here," and they were worried about what this meant. And another indigenous leader said, "No, these are guerrilleros de paz. These are guerrillas of peace. These people are unarmed. They're from the university. They don't come in with guns. They come in to teach." Well, unfortunately, the military of Guatemala considered us to be the same as the rebels. Why? Because they were very opposed to education. And remember, there's a huge difference between training and education. The military is interested in training. Training is how you learn to drive a car or to operate a machine gun. Training is not education. Education is what can be educed from your magnificent soul. Education is what Michelangelo talked about when he'd look at a piece of marble and say, "You know what? There's an angel in that piece of marble. I just have to take it out. To take the angel out of the block of marble. I have to educe." That's not training. And it certainly worries me today that we have so much focus on standardized testing. Because that's mainly, to my perspective, that's mainly training. It doesn't include what Einstein thought was essential, which is creativity and imagination. Without those things, there's no education. But if all we're doing is focusing on standardized testing, we're focusing on training. Training to take the test, pay so much money to take the test, training. We see, if we take a good look at it, this is part and parcel of the concern of today's LA Times. If you haven't read it, it's a lead article on page 1. Today, Tuesday, April 5th, they're talking up arms. And it's about military recruitment in the schools, in the high schools. And this is a very unfortunate situation because it's part and parcel of the military culture in which we live. And this is where liberation theology comes in. We don't believe that religion can bless war. And when we look at the history of Christianity and see how religion was used in many ways as a cloak for malice, we're seeing it today more than ever. We're seeing some leadership in almost every religion trying to use the religion for militaristic purposes. We've seen our own generals saying that, you know, in Fallujah we're killing the devil. No, I'm sorry, we're not killing the devil. We're killing lovely children, women, and non-combatants. Thank you very much. So if you want to play games, you want to live in a cult, then you just take everything that's said to you and you swallow it, and you're a well-trained soldier. Thank you. I became one at the age of 19. And I learned a great deal. I learned to keep my mouth shut, follow orders, and do what I was told. Well, how's that for education? Is that education? I don't think so. Wars are fought by slaves. That's been the history of war. That's been the history of war from day one. That's what it's about. The king sits back and lets the peasants kill each other so he can get some more land. And wars are started by contrivances. Wars don't start accidentally. Wars are started by a contrivance. Remember the Maine, you know. Remember the Tonkin Gulf crisis. There wasn't any. It was a fraud. Oh. Remember the weapons of mass destruction. Oh, there weren't any. Oh, that's fine. I wanted to start a war. Thank you very much, and that's why I did it. Wars are started by contrivances. As you study war, you're studying contrivances that were caused by people who wanted to have a war. Now, this has happened in Latin America over 100 times in the past 100 years. Isn't it tragic that we aren't aware of it? But this is a problem of education, because we ask our students, could you give me some examples of interventions of the great power, that is the United States, in Latin America? Many would say no. Well, we referred to 1954 in Guatemala. We referred to the takeover of Haiti in 1915. to 1934, the Marines ran Haiti. We refer to the takeover of the Dominican Republic. We refer to the militarization of Brazil. We refer to September 11, 1973, where we overthrew the democratically elected government of Salvador Allende. It is unending, and our own people are not aware of it. So we have an educational problem. And liberation theology is saying, let's get to the facts. Let's take a critical approach to reality. I was ordained by a very famous cardinal, Cardinal Spellman. Cardinal Spellman was the military vicar of the United States. He just felt that everyone in the world that was a communist should be killed. And so he supported the war in Korea day and night. Then he supported the war in Vietnam. And he was a cardinal. Therefore, we should listen to him. No. That's the point of liberation theology, is you don't necessarily accept the word of authority. Why? Because as you study logic in philosophy, you'll find one of the prime fallacies in philosophy is someone who says, that's true because I'm the boss. No, that's not an argument. That may be a power play made by some boss, but it has nothing to do with logic. Because I'm in charge does not mean what I say is true. I can be a damn liar and be in charge, and many people who are in high positions are liars. The problem that I've received from military recruitment, as we see it, is the lying that goes on. We're checking it out in every high school. I got a report through UTLA and through going to Manual Arts High School. Well, the recruiter said if we joined the reserve, we'd never have to go overseas. Well, thank you very much. It's a flat-out lie. And it doesn't mean that you have a right to lie because you're a military recruiter. It doesn't mean you have a right to lie whether you're Pope, Cardinal, or anybody else. We do not accept the word just because someone in authority said it. That is absolutely not the way to go. And that's why we've been making some headway with religion. Now, where do we see things changing in terms of what is called liberation theology? I was at Puebla in Mexico when Pope John Paul II arrived in 1979. He had only been Pope for a year. And prior to his arrival, the press was saying the Pope has condemned liberation theology. Well, that was interesting. The press had said that. Had he done so? No. Why? The press was terrified because the commercial world knew that liberation theology was saying, if we're in touch with biblical literature, we'll know that there has to be a preferential option for the poor of the earth. That's the message in the biblical literature. It's very clear. Not once, not twice, but throughout the entire fabric. A preferential option for the needs of the poor, not the needs of profit, not the needs of the rich, a preferential option for the needs of the poor. Well, Pope John came to Mexico, and the conference went on, the Puebla conference. At the end of the conference, only one thing was condemned. What was it? It was unrestrained capital. Unrestrained capital was condemned because that meant the important thing in the world is profit. And the Pope and everyone else, by the way, Archbishop Romero was there. That was a year before he was killed. Everyone there knew that the focus should not be on profit. It should be on the needs of people. It should be on distributive justice. Distributive justice means you don't have a state like California. California is a disaster from the standpoint of distributive justice. We have billionaires in this state who don't pay taxes. We have millionaires who don't pay taxes. Then we have people working 4 jobs trying to pay their rent. That is not distributive justice, okay? So I think California is a very bad example of distributive justice. Norway might be a better example of distributive justice, where there's quite a balance in the society, and you don't see people living in the street. You see a rather well-balanced society. So liberation theology is concerned about these things. It does not honor you because of your title. And all of this stuff has a history. Michelangelo was a fairly good painter and scholar, right? And also a good sculptor. If you go to the Sistine Chapel, you see the risks he took in his paintings. You look carefully, and you'll see high-level church people where? In hell. Beautiful statement. I mean, totally theologically accurate statement. You can take your honors